Hi, everyone.
Hi, folks. Ray Franz on page 658 of In Search for Christian Freedom has been addressing the August 15, 1980 Watchtower, which effectively reversed the changes that had occurred only 4 years before in respect to what is the definition of sacred service. In other words, what time could you count? What really was worship of God and what was not. And he also then details what's the same article, the same issue of the Watchtower, August 15, 1980, in its questions from readers brought forth about these contrasts between different types of service to God. He says, a question from readers in this same issue built on this argumentation tied to a comparison with Israelite service under the Old Law Covenant. It similarly sought to rule out any thought that in a man's work or in one's care for family, home, or similar activities, one could be performing sacred service to God. No, it must be something out of the ordinary. That is a direct quote, something out of the ordinary. It in effect presented an authorized list of what activities could be so considered. Primarily these were preaching, that is field service, meeting attendance, family study and consideration of the daily Watchtower text, pioneer and missionary service, Bethel service at the headquarters or branch office, work as a traveling overseer, elder, or ministerial servant. Thus, by definition, if a parent conducts a formal Bible study with his wife and children, and this is always done using a publication of the Watchtower Society, this is sacred service, service to God, and he can also list the time spent on his field service report slip, that is if the children are not baptized.
Mm-hmm. And if he spends time informally in simply talking with a son or daughter about their daily life and activities, exploring their thinking, letting them express their thoughts, feelings, and concerns, helping them with their problems at school, or to develop a healthful outlook on life, or teaching them skills to equip them for adult life as a responsible Christian. This does not qualify as part of such sacred service to God. The rigidity of this outlook is without doubt one of the major reasons why there is such an undeniably poor success rate among Jehovah's Witnesses as to young people remaining with the organization once they reach their majority. I recall that when sent to the Central American country of Belize in the 1970s, one of the organization's representatives there, of his own volition, informed me that out of all the young men who had grown up as witnesses in that country, not a single one had till then continued with the organization. While this is an extreme case, the fact is that in all countries, the number of young people leaving the organization when coming of age is disproportionately large.
The effect on the mental outlook of witnesses that these organizational decrees defining what is service sacred to God and what is not produce is illustrated by what took place when the above-mentioned 1980 articles were considered at the Kingdom Hall in Gadsden, Alabama. At the conclusion of the study, the elder conducting the Watchtower study, Tim Gregerson, asked the audience a question. He said, "Suppose there's a sister in the congregation whose husband has died, and she's going through some difficult times, and one of us goes there to help her out with her problems. Would that be sacred service?" At first he got no response, but finally one person offered to answer and said, "No, that would not be sacred service." Tim then pointed out that the articles throughout had stressed the religious aspect of worship involved in sacred service, and he then referred the audience to the words of the disciple James. This is James 1:27 in the New World Translation. "The form of worship that is clean and undefiled from the standpoint of our God and Father is this, to look after orphans and widows in their tribulation, and to keep oneself without spot from the world."
He then stated that James specifically describes caring for such a widowed sister as worship. Hence it surely was sacred service.
And that, by the way, this Tim that's conducting the Watchtower study is the nephew of Peter Gregerson,
Who later gets disfellowshipped.
who was being disfellowshipped that very year, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Right. And he was a pioneer.
A pioneer, so he's got no axe to grind about field service.
Right. Ray continues, being present, I also called attention to the references to sacred service in Hebrews, chapter 13, and its including the doing of good and showing of generous kindness to others as sacrifices the Christian offers at a spiritual altar. Typical, however, of the effect of such material on so many witnesses was the expression of another elder, Dan Gregerson. This is Tim's uncle. After hearing the scriptural evidence just mentioned, he indicated his dissatisfaction and said, I'd like to call to the attention of the brothers that there is a questions from the readers at the close of this issue, and there the Watchtower shows just what sacred service really is. He had no scriptural refutation of what had been expressed, but the decisive factor for him clearly was what the Watchtower said. Why, that's so telling.
We'll put a link into that section of Crisis of Conscience, the section called Aftermath, where Ray details the impact upon that Gadsden, Alabama congregation when Peter Gregerson was, disassociated himself. And then later Ray gets disfellowship for eating with Peter Gregerson.
Whom he worked for.
Yeah.
Right. But I thought too, this phrase that he quotes in the Watchtower's literature of something out of the ordinary, that reminded me of all through the Old Testament. You see the prophets criticizing the nation of Israel for going through the motions, going through the rituals, but one of the prophets says their heart was far removed from me, talking about their heart removed from God. It wasn't part of their daily thought pattern to have God front and center in their thinking. It was just as long as I do the rituals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that sounds so similar to this.
So that section of Crisis of Conscience, by the way, is pages 309 to 313. And our video about that section, where the Gadsden congregation is talked about and the impact on the Gregerson family, that's on your screen. But also another one on James. What, according to James, is true religion?